Howdy, everybody. I'm Tom Vassell.
Hey, I'm Sharon Madden from Dice Tower East. Good evening, everyone.
Well, first, before we get started here, folks, since we often get word that these chats are a little bit unbalanced in levels, as we talk, tell me if one of us needs to be louder or softer, and I'll fix it ASAP. All right? So, for those who've never been here to one of our live things before, this is where we just talk about games, people, whatever, peanut butter, Reese's peanut butter cups, which I did earlier this week with Elizabeth Hardgrave. Sharon is the director of Dice Tower East, which, as we announced this week, unfortunately was canceled. But not quite. So tune in actually Monday, where me and Scott Alden from Board Game Geek have an announcement of sorts for a virtual con, and we'll tell you a little bit more then, and we'll tell you more as time goes by. And Sharon's also going to be helping us put together Dice Tower
Summer Spectacular.
Summer Spectacular, where we'll be doing all sorts of things. So I can tell you right now that we're going to be trying to do 5 top 10 lists every day of the Summer Spectacular with special guests. And one of those special guests is Sam Healy, coming back, well, virtually, for one of those top 10s. All right, so I'm a little quiet and Sharon's a little loud. I can fix that. All righty, folks.
And the dates are June 30th through July 4th, I believe.
Yeah. So we're gonna virtual cons a little bit. I mean, the Summer Spectacular is not quite a convention, but we're gonna have a lot of content in there, and I'm hoping to have some cool surprises. And another thing that will be during that time is we'll be announcing the Dice Tower Awards. Alrighty, I need to find on here my comments box. There it is. So if you all have questions to ask us, but I'll mention real first how I even know Sharon, and let Sharon tell a little bit about her gamer background. We met because she moved to the area with her husband, who's a weatherman. In fact, he was a TV anchor for the Weather Channel at one point. Now he studies hurricanes, which unfortunately means all of us call him whenever there's a hurricane close.
When I was negotiating with Tom for the position, I threw in some hurricane forecasting for free, so the Dice Tower gets automatic hurricane updates.
All right. Well, first question here. This question's about the convention here. Oh, well, I'll ask this question, then we'll go back to Sharon. Sorry, I forgot about that.
That's all right.
Gator Dave says, "Will the VIP tickets from Dice Tower East transfer over to 2021 as well?"
Yes, indeed, they will. So if you bought a VIP ticket, you will have VIP status in 2021. We will have a VIP dinner, especially for you, and that will be on the evening of June the 29th, and you will have other exclusive perks only for you. So yes, you will still be a VIP.
That was an easy one to answer. All right, so anyway, so Sharon, tell us a little bit about how you got into gaming, and then... well, you've been gaming for longer than I have, I think.
Yeah. Oh, really? I've been gaming about 20 years, and my husband and I, before we moved to Miami, we lived in Atlanta. Tom mentioned he used to be on the Weather Channel. He was a meteorologist and on the air. And so he found a game group that wasn't very far from our house, and so he started going, and he loved it a lot, was having a good time, and so he convinced me to give it a try. And I wasn't quite so sold on the hobby at first. Of course, a lot of games, they were new to me. I was a little overwhelmed, but he kept encouraging me to go, and we started going to various conventions, and I started meeting wonderful people and making lots of new friends. And so then I started getting interested in it a little more. And it used to be, hey, Sharon, I'm going to go gaming. Why don't you come with me? Come on, to, hey, honey, you got to go out of town. I'm going to go gaming. Sorry, bye. So I just got really involved in the hobby and have just really come to love it. The games are fun, but the friendships are what mean the most to me. I've just met so many wonderful people through this hobby, and that's what has just really grown me into it. And I just checked the number on our board game collection, and we have 1,042 games, including expansions. So when we moved here 6 years ago, we had about 750. So that's how much our collection has grown over the
That is
past
not
six
on
years.
me.
No, it is not. Well, it is kind of, but that is having cool stuff nearby.
Yeah, that doesn't hurt for sure.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. So it's a hobby that we've kind of grown into together, and we just really enjoy together. And so yeah, and now I'm planning a board game convention, and it's involved with a hobby that I love and enjoy. So I'm on cloud nine.
Let me say this as a side thing here for those who are watching. We 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 are running a not huge con. It was over 1,000 people convention that we're doing, and we're very glad to do that. The amount of effort and costs and fatigue that it happened to us for having to, consider whether to postpone it, to work with all the different people involved, and to put it to next year was fairly substantial. And we had a group of people doing it. So I just ask that you consider that, especially for the bigger cons, Origins and Gen Con and UK Games Expo, and pretty much every other con that exists, because we know firsthand about what's going on there. It's not simple. So when you go online and like, why is this con not doing this? Well, there's so many things behind the scenes, and nobody had any of this clause written in their contracts when the year started. There was, I think hurricanes are written in sometimes, but in Florida only. But no one put
Yeah.
in, pandemic. So just keep that
Yeah.
in mind. All right.
Yeah. I mean, this is just unprecedented. It's just very unprecedented times.
Is Sam Healy's birthday today? Yes. So you can send him a happy birthday. I always remember it's his birthday because
Happy
it's the same
birthday.
day as my wedding anniversary. So
Happy birthday, Sam.
let's see here. Kabuki wants to know, what are your big hobbies?
Besides board gaming, I enjoy cooking and doing yoga.
I enjoy one of those, which is cooking. I tried yoga for like, I don't know, several months, and I so hated it. I hated it.
And so relaxing and just
I was
you
so
get in your
bored.
zen. Oh, I love it. My local Y is closed, of course, with all this going on. So I've not been doing yoga faithfully for quite a while, and I do miss it. But we've been walking in the evenings, so
Yeah, walking is a good thing. Although for us down here, I woke up today. Me and my wife walk at 6 in the morning, and I heard the pouring rain, and I was like, back to bed.
yeah, I
For a whole
know.
30 minutes, it's whatever.
Yeah.
All right, next question. Favorite meal on the cruise? Well, we're going to discount on this particular cruise. We had a very special meal that we went to as part of a thing. So we'll discount that. It was a seafood steak type thing. It was very good. But of the normal meals, they have horseradish crusted salmon. It's usually the first night they have it. It's my favorite thing. Oh no, it's on the meal. It was on the menu now as a everyday item.
Yeah,
And
I saw it.
that's probably my favorite.
Yeah. Oh gosh, what was my favorite? I mean, everything I had was delicious. There was, I think I had a steak. The formal night, there was a steak on the menu, and I can't remember what it was, but it was just so amazingly good. Oh, it was heavenly.
All
And of
right,
course, desserts. The desserts, you can't go wrong. All the desserts are always awesome.
that is true.
Yes.
Elliot wants to know, what's your favorite game genres?
My favorite game genres tend to be worker placement. One of my favorite games still to this day is Kalis, and I love the aspect of that you're going, when you're placing your workers, you have to place them in a certain order, and then when I explain the game, you take the walk, and you can get messed up by where the provost ends up, so your plan may be ruined by the time it gets to you. But that's one of my favorites. I also, close second to that, I don't know if this really considered worker placement, but underwater cities. I really love underwater cities.
Well, he just announced his next game. He said it's his heaviest game he's done, unlike his previous games. I was like, Underwater City seems pretty heavy to me. So,
I was going to say, yeah. Bring it on. I'll try it.
alrighty, let's see here. Oh yeah, let's see. What are some of your first love games as you were starting out in the hobby?
My first love games. I really liked Die Handler and Basati. With Basati, I really liked the, how you had to pick something and you didn't know what everybody else was going to do. And so it just really made you think of, how you were going to, get your next turn together so that you could make it around the board. And with Die Handler, I really like the auction part of it. It just really makes the game interesting. And I did really like Settlers of Catan too. And we actually recently introduced some friends to that. They picked it up, and it's actually someone Warren works with at the Hurricane Center, but they picked it up randomly at Target and just began playing it themselves and really liked it. And so we had them over before the COVID thing happened, and we had a really nice game night with them. And of course, we're looking forward to many more when all this is cleared up. So we're slowly reeling them in, slowly.
That is how it works. All right, this next question's a
Yep.
long one. So we're going to talk a little bit of nuts and bolts here without being too open, because it's just not everyone's business on all the details. But Nate says, just from a business standpoint, what's the approach from a financial viability standpoint when planning a con? How do you predict costs and estimate the number of attendees to cover those costs? So I'll start in reverse. Predicting the number of attendees is always difficult, and once the con runs, you predict them based on the previous year plus growth or not, depending on if you're growing or not. The first year, you just kind of pick a number. We did that with the cruise. We did it with, the different conventions. You pick that number. After that, you kind of guess. You're also limited by how big the hotel is. How many rooms that people can get at the hotel. There's a lot of different things. What time of year? There's a lot of things that go into that. As for the budget, you go by, the way I think of it, you go by the number of tickets sold and how many people are coming. You also need to get money from publishers and stuff, but that's part of your budget, but you can't always count on that. It's for some conventions like Gen Con, it's a much bigger part of their budget, because I know that because I see the prices they charge publishers. It's a hard. There's so many things people don't know about, like a con. Like the ballrooms themselves have a price limit. It's a pretty high price, but you get that price lowered and sometimes even disappears if enough people stay at the hotel. And yet, it's certainly one of the loudest things people always complain about, having to stay at the attached hotel, but because it's expensive. But by staying at the hotel, you actually bring the price of the whole con down for everybody.
Yeah. And, especially with this being the first one, I was budgeting for certain expenses, what I thought they would be, and just trying to, keep them, right in the same range. But it's just really hard, until you see the final, income, just to know that you have allocated everything properly. So, this year was just kind of the inaugural year that we had to work through, and then as we move forward, we'll know better how we can grow and possibly grow and budget for that.
Yeah. By the way, Nate, this is not a bad question. I'm glad to talk about it. I'm just saying we can't explain everything, but realize that pretty much every con that's postponed till next year now is basically running a con at 60 to 70% budget, because they lost a lot of planning, people who were paid to do it, fees that can't be reimbursed, etc. And so some cons are different because they have to deal with the convention center itself, like Origins and Gen Con. I'm speaking from the perspective of working with the hotel. We have had good partners with hotels, for sure. But at the end of the day, hotels aren't doing this out of the goodness of their heart. They want money. And I have often missed stuff in contracts, sometimes, to my detriment. The first Heights Tower retreat, I missed a pretty major thing in the contract that they said, well, that was obvious, but it ended up I don't know that we lost money in the first Heights Tower retreat, but we definitely didn't make money because of a mistake I made in the contract. So I don't do the contracts anymore. But there's also unexpected costs that will show up. Like, for example, this is not a problem anymore, but we can talk about it. The hotel we were going to this year, we suddenly realized, hey, we have to get all this stuff, the publishers, to their room that they're going to. And the way to get there is through the attendees. So how do we do that? And I know at Dice Tower Con a couple of years ago, they had to put down plastic on the floor. That was just a rule they had that we didn't know about, and suddenly that's an extra thing you have to do. Mm-hmm. Was there anything that surprised you? This is a cost that I didn't even think about?
One thing we were thinking, and it reminded me with the publishers, like if they're doing any point of sale during the con, they need some additional internet connections. And so, that was something that I hadn't thought about. And that's the one thing that's really coming to mind. Also, I found this as we were working with the company, the expo company that was helping us to set up the pipe and drape with the room. We have to consider fire exits. And, it's something that, is important, but when you're just in the thick of things and you're trying to map things out and, make everything fit, and then you remember there's a fire exit there, you have to allow for certain footage just in case there is an emergency and there needs to be an evacuation. So, those were a couple of the things that, sort of caught me by surprise here that I've learned from.
Sure, and big kudos to anybody who runs a con, because there is so many little things that go on. Your very first con, like our Dice Tower retreat, we essentially, there's some working behind the scenes, obviously, with the publishers and stuff, but when it comes to running the con, we just throw the games up and we play. But even then, Kenny was busy the whole the whole retreat, keeping an eye on that, and that's a really small event. Bigger ones, there's so many things, and stuff's going to go wrong. Something's going to break. Someone's going to have to run to the store. There's just a lot of different things. And at the same time, you smile because someone's going to come and complain about something that to you, you're thinking, not a big deal. To them, it is a big deal. And that's the one thing that they'll remember about the con. They'll be like, wow, I had a problem with this. And, someone came and yelled at me because I plugged my phone into the wall here, and they said we couldn't do that, and what a jerky con.
Yeah, the key is to be flexible.
Alrighty, how's the ice cream sundae topping thing going? Good, but it moved from Sunday to Monday, and I don't know what's going to happen with it. It's getting confusing. I don't have the patience for yoga. You are correct, but you know what it is? It's not the patience. It's the fact that I have to hold these poses, which in my opinion hurt, and I don't know what else to do. Like, I'm supposed to think about something. I can't watch something because my head's like stuck in my elbow or something. So I guess you're just supposed to zen out. I hate zenning out. I want to think about something. Let's see here. What's your favorite cooking show?
My favorite cooking show, Alton Brown. Anything Alton Brown. I love how I haven't seen his new one on Food TV because we don't get cable, but I used to love Good Eats because it delved into the science behind why why food does what it does when you mix it with certain things. And I also think he's a darn good good cook. I've got all of his cookbooks, and his recipes have never let me down. And during this quarantine, I've been watching him and his wife. They have a show on once a week. It's called Quarantine Kitchen, and they're cooking from their condo, flat, whatever, in Marietta, Georgia, and they're just having so much fun together. But he's my favorite TV chef, and I actually met him when I used to work at a flight school in Kennesaw, where my husband was taking flying lessons, and he was becoming a pilot as well. So I actually got to meet him, and he signed 2 of my cookbooks. So I think that's pretty cool. Yeah.
I don't know that I watch cooking shows. I watch cooking competitions, but that's not the same thing. I kind of scoff at those because fun. It's kind of scripted to some degree, right? They're like, look, we need all you people to make this dish that you've never heard of. And they're all sitting there going, we can make it. And I'm like, wait a minute. No. You paused the video there and told everyone how to make it. But I still like them. They're fun to watch.
Yeah, they're fun, yeah.
Well, this question, I don't know if it's relevant, but Nick says, what's the craziest thing to pop up at a gaming convention you were involved in organizing, and how did you deal with it or overcome it?
Well, this is my very first board game convention. I used to do sales training conventions with Porsche years ago. But what was the craziest thing? I can't think of anything really crazy that has happened to me yet. Ask me in a year.
So there's things that will happen. One of the most difficult things to deal with, I'm just spitballing here, if someone's kid is bad. All right, kids are a thing, right? Some conventions don't allow kids. Some conventions do allow kids with parents' supervision. Some just allow families in general. We certainly push for families. But a kid will run around. A kid will be a pain. A parent won't watch their kid. And being the one to tell a parent their kid is being bad, it's just like school. You have a percentage of a chance of getting a parent who will not believe you.
Yeah.
Although that worked out well for us at Dice Tower Con a couple years ago. There was a kid who joined a werewolf game at night, and they didn't want a kid involved, right? And it just because in a werewolf game, there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's awkward when there's a younger kid there. Sometimes it just doesn't work in that situation. And they told him after a certain time, like after 11 p.m., he couldn't be in there. And they were a little upset about that. So they started a werewolf game for kids only. Something about tattletales or in school or whatever. And it became the most popular kid event. The kids loved it.
Awesome.
How often do you get to play games in a week? Do you get through all your 1,000 games in a year?
Oh, gosh, no. And we still have a lot in shrink wrap, actually. We have a game group, and of course, we game with Tom from time to time, but we have a game group that's close to us that they get together about every other Saturday during normal circumstances. So we go over there, and they're like a couple of miles from our house, so it's really, really convenient. But I tend to, during the week, I actually play a lot of games on my iPad. I haven't gotten anything new recently, but I got Kalis. I've been playing a lot of Ubongo lately. I've
really?
also got, yeah. I don't know. I just got into it, and they have this where you can just keep going through different levels, and I've just gotten hooked on that. So, every now and again, if I just need a little break, I'll just try to do a couple levels. But I also do a lot of Splendor. I've got Ticket to Ride. See, I've got a lot of old ones on my iPad. I need to update a little bit. I also kickstarted the Lorenzo Il Magnifico digital version, which I've been playing that a lot and
Ooh.
helping them with suggestions. I love that game.
Is that not out yet?
No, it's not out to the public. But you can kickstart it to get an early version of it, and as they were working out the kinks and things.
That's interesting. All right.
Yeah.
Would you ever consider an Alaska Dice Tower cruise? No. I would consider going on one, but after all the effort it took us to get the games on the ship in a city that's only an hour from my house. There's no way I'm driving them through the whole USA, through Canada, up to, well, I guess it doesn't go through Canada. They usually leave from Washington or something like that. But still, no.
Yeah.
Getting those games on the cruise ship this year was the hardest thing we've done logistically ever. Getting them to Dice Tower West was also, no, getting them to the cruise was not so bad. Getting them from the cruise ship to Dice Tower West was very difficult. And then getting them from Dice Tower West back here. They're all safe and sound now, and we're going through them game by game. Let's see here. What's the most overlooked worker placement game that deserves more love in your opinion? Well, let me look here. I'm going to look at worker placement games on Board Game Geek.
Overlooked worker placement game. I'd have to go look at my library.
Well, I'll tell you one that we both like, but isn't in print right now. That isn't talked about as much. I think, though, it's like in the top 100 BGG, so maybe it's not overlooked, and that's Russian Railroads.
Oh, yeah, I do love that one. That's a good one.
It's let's see, worker placement. I got it. So worker placement, there on Board Game Geek, there are 2,513 games.
Oh my God. Wow.
So if I pick them by the number of ratings, what do you think number one is? Well,
the number one worker placement game.
Yes.
Number one worker placement game.
It's ranked 29.
It's ranked 29 on Board Game Geek.
You don't actually have a lot of workers in this game. You start with 2.
You start with 2 workers and you move up. Oh.
Most people don't even think about it being a worker placement game because everyththing else kind of takes precedence.
It's
Agricola.
Agricola. Oh, that's right. That's right.
So we got Agricola, Lords of Waterdeep, Stone Age, Robinson Crusoe, Tzolk'in, Caverna, Kalis, Le Havre, Viticulture, Village, Keyflower, Troyes, Dominant Species, Pillars of the Earth, Feast for Odin, Russian Railroads, never mind, I guess. It's ranked 79, never mind. Raiders of the North Sea, Dungeon Lords, Architects of the West Kingdom, Everdell, Lewis and Clark, Dungeon Pets, Targi, Champions of Midgard. And those are like the first group. So, yeah, I'd have to go through and look here for a while.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go to page 10 here. So let's see. I'll see if I find any. Oh, Crown of Amara. That didn't get a lot of love. That's a good one. That's not a worker placement game, though. It's moving someone around a... All right, so if I look here on page 10, I'm just getting a bunch of expansions. All right, never mind. This was not a good... I'd have to look in. I don't know. Alrighty, let's see here. Between Tabletop Simulator and Tabletopia, which do you prefer? I don't know right now. I haven't played Tabletopia enough to give a good answer on that.
Yeah, I haven't played Tabletopia either. Tabletop Simulator I've played a few times, and I mean it works. It's good.
Any board gaming pet peeves you developed over time?
Any board gaming pet peeves?
I can't stand having someone else teach me a game.
Oh,
and it's really bad of me. It's really bad of me. I know it. I like teaching games. But I'm working really hard on it. I'm working hard on being a good learner.
Teaching games that's a fine art, I think. Because to teach games well, you really have to have your thoughts organized and know how to present the game. And there are people that I learn from better than I do others. Like, not to, not, I mean, my husband's a wonderful guy, but I think he is one of the best people to explain games there is. In fact, I was going to have him working the hot games area because he is so good at explaining and he loves teaching. So I think, and I've certainly tried to explain games, and if I'm just explaining a brand new one that's new to me, I'm almost reading the rules word for word. But if it's one that I've played for a while and had a lot of experience with, then I feel that I'm better at it. But I think teaching a game, it takes a brilliant mind to organize your thoughts and make it make sense and understandable to everybody.
Rodney Smith. All right. Sharon, when's
Hey,
the last time
Ron.
you got mad at a game? Was there a table flipping?
Oh. No, there was not a table flipping. Oh gosh, what was the name of the game? There was one. Oh, I cannot remember the name of this game. That's how much I hated it. I forgot it. But it's one where you have things in the middle of the table. I know this is not helping, but you're betting to try and get these abilities, and I kept losing, and there was just no way to come back, and I was having the most miserable time. But I stuck with it, and I came in dead last, and I wish I could remember the name of the game. It was that bad.
You purged it. It's
I
gone.
know, I did. And I know another time, and this, I do remember the name of the game, but Food Chain Magnet. And I know you've got some complaints against this one, Tom. But, this was one that, it's a game that, when I first play a game for the first time, I don't expect to do well. I'm learning the game. I'm learning how things work. And Food Chain Magnet, that's one that where when you start going down, it's really hard to come back. And I
Yes.
came dead last on that one too. And I'd like to try it again where someone's kind of walking me through it because it is so complex. But didn't flip the table, but just was really confused by the end of the game.
I have a couple specific people that I would recommend to not teach you the game or play it with a second time. Alrighty, what's a song that if you hear it on the stereo or in the car, you immediately start singing along, maybe louder than you intended to?
Oh my God, Celine Dion, anything Celine Dion. I love her.
You
I
know,
will sing her. I can sing her till the cows come home.
I like that my kids like music. We have a good time listening to music. Man, though, all day today, I've had Bad Romance stuck in my head, which is probably not a good song on your anniversary to have in your head, but it just, I think I heard it this morning and it's just like, da, na, 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 na. It just won't go away. So I gotta listen to something else, I think.
I also like to listen to a cappella. I like Straight No Chaser and Pentatonics.
Okay. Okay, so was it always the plan to have 2021 back at the Carib, or is that a reaction to 2020 being canceled? It's not a reaction to 2020 being canceled.
No.
But it wasn't always the plan either. The plans change and go. When we went to Florida Hotel, I said we're going to go for this year and see how that works, and then we'll go from there because this was all new, uncharted territory for us. And so the Carib, we actually talked to them and found out, hey, we actually can. They were very, very kind and gracious to us, and then we heard back from a lot of people who said that they would like to come with their families, including Mrs. Vassal and children. And while the Florida Mall is fantastic and we like it, we have a good time there. At the same time, we want it. The pool at the Creep. It's really hard to beat. It's a fantastic thing, and it's really close to Disney, and there's things like that too. So they're both fine. I would be happy at having my convention at either, but the family thing kind of outweighed everything else to pushing it to the Carib.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Do you enjoy video games?
I used to play World of Warcraft quite a bit. In
Really?
fact,
I
probably
did not
too
know this.
much. Yes, yes, I played World of Warcraft. I had several different characters. And in fact, Warren still does play on a regular basis. And after moving here, I don't know. I just kind of fell out of it. And just wasn't interested. And Warren had joined a guild that he was playing a lot with, so I just kind of fell out of it. And so now most evenings I'm just watching television or reading.
Alrighty, let's see here. People are talking about cooking now, so catching up on that thing
Oh.
here. This Gator Day says Alton goes wild sometimes. He says, sorry, I'm not baking my pan for 30 minutes in order to cook a fried egg properly. I don't even know what that means.
I have never tried doing that. He made a grilled cheese once that he made it outside on his grill, and he took the cheese and put it in aluminum foil and melted it and then just spread it on his bread, and it looked incredibly delicious. But I'm like, is this really worth it to make a grilled cheese? But, hey, it's another way to do something.
People are asking if there's a cat in the background of your video.
And on this, that's a good question.
No, I think people are asking, has a kitten been walking by every once in a while?
Quite possibly. We have 2 cats.
Ah, okay.
And they may have been going in the hall here. I left the door open a little bit, so you might have seen Isabel.
Got it. Tom, stop tapping your desk. Am I? Okay. Sorry. Let's see here. Just borrow Sam's games. No, Sam doesn't have enough games for us to run a con with. And do you want to? I don't think you want to play just Ameritrash and Emperor S4 games.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think Sam's selection I would do well with that.
Do you think in the future the Dice Tower will have its own cruise ship and could travel around the world? I don't think you know how much a cruise ship costs. I think, like, if I was a super rich person, I still don't think I could afford a cruise ship. They're really expensive.
They are. They are.
Would it be ever considered to make a second library for Dice Tower WestCon, or is that not feasible? Well, we could, and in fact, we've made some plans. There's some cool things that we're going to be able to do with the library in the future. We can't, again, the quarantine kind of paused some of those. The problem is that we don't want to make one con better than the others, and I work really hard at blinging out all the games, and so people would miss some of those games if we didn't take them to Dice Tower East. And also, we don't want to also go through and pick and choose. I'm constantly upgrading my games and making them better. So, let's see here. What happened with the transportation of your board games that made it difficult? If it's the wheels, I have a recommendation when I was on tour with a national group. Well, no. Okay, so, it was the wheels, but I need to explain this. First of all, transporting board games is something that nobody does, right? Except maybe Board Game Geek. Nobody else does it. So whenever we would explain it to people, we always had to start at the beginning. That we were transporting something that needed to go on shelves, that needed to be opened up, and people could grab them off and play them and put them back. The closest we could get to explaining to the cruise ship was like a library, right? But then the shelves that we used, we wanted to get ones with wheels on them. So we were originally told, hey, get shelves with wheels. I'm not going to say who convinced me to get these shelves with wheels, but it happened. Get these shelves with wheels, put the games on them, and you can wheel them in or not. We wheeled them into the retreat. It was wonderful. Then we went to the cruise ship, and they said, you can't wheel them on. You got to put them on pallets. I don't know if you all have tried to wheel a thing onto a pallet, but that's just not going to work. So we spent a long time building special pallets that had a flat floor, so we could put a ramp. We bought a special ramp for this, put them up onto the ramp, and then we put them all together and put them on these specially made pallets. We got to the cruise ships, the pallets were too big. Even though we measured everything super carefully, someone somewhere there was a mistake made. So they took they took them off the ship and they used the forklifts to pick up the shelves by the shelves themselves. In the process, these shelves, which weigh hundreds of pounds, put a lot of pressure on these wheels. And I don't know, half the wheels snapped off eventually. We then loaded the shelves up in a truck, and when they got to Vegas, literally as they were wheeling them in, wheels were snapping off everything. So we took off all the wheels, we put the shelves on the ground. We then, at the end, had to put these shelves up. Now, we could take every game off the shelf, put the shelf on the pallet, put all the games back on, but we trying to save time, so we lifted them with the game. Very heavy. Took 4 people to pick these things up, sometimes 6 people to pick up these shelves and move them. When they got back here, we then had to pick the shelves up and put the wheels on them. Now, for that, we just couldn't do it. So we had to take the games off. So I brought in my kids. We helped. We took all the games off a shelf. And then they picked it up, put the wheels on it. And we put on better, bigger wheels. So hopefully it will work better this time. But it was very, very tough. Mm. It's probably the maddest I've been about something that I wasn't mad at any particular person. I was just mad at these stupid shelves. and the thing is, these shelves are also not cheap. This was a substantial payment to get the shelves, and then we also need to get sides and backs to the shelves. And I realized this because we got a few extra shelves when we were in Vegas. Haven't gotten sides or backs for them yet. I didn't think about that just a few days ago. I pulled a shelf out. There wasn't a back on it, and all the games went. And somebody made an uncouth remark at life in general. It wasn't me, though, because I'm a good example in front of my children. Alrighty. Yes, there are different things we could consider. There's all kinds of weird things out there, but we think we have it now for next year. The cruise, we talked to them. Now they've seen it in action. And I'll tell you this. All the time people come to me and go, why do you always use the same cruise ship? Oh, my word, because of stuff like this. Next year, this cruise ship knows what our shelves look like. They know how it works. It is so critical to be able to work with the same people over and again for things like that. Same thing with the Dice Tower West. Next time, the guys know what's coming in. Alrighty, let's see here. If you could add one addition to your house, what would it be? Ooh, that's a good question.
Oh, more room. When we moved here from Atlanta, as you can imagine, housing prices down here are more expensive than they are in Atlanta. So we downsized considerably, and I actually lost a bedroom to the game room, which didn't really upset me that much, but we've definitely outgrown the game room. So I'd like a little bigger house, but we're on one story, whereas in Atlanta we had like a split level. We had up to 6 levels in our house, so it was really huge. But I have to say, I do like being on one story and not having the stairs, but I still wish we had a bigger game room, and I even wish we could have place to have a dedicated gaming space.
I actually have a staircase in my house now, but I have to say that I think 1-4 is better. I agree with you there, but stairs have a certain nostalgia to me. I don't know how to explain it, because going up the stairs was like going to your bedroom. There was just a thing about it. Mm-hmm. I would add a jacuzzi if I could. But would it be bad of me to say I would like to do some subtractions and like maybe just get a couple kids out? And I jest mostly. Alrighty. Let's see. Will the Dice Tower East use the same conference centers or boardrooms as in the con in 2019? No, because we're deliberately keeping it smaller. We're using the front big. So if you went to Dice Tower Con the last 2 years, where the exhibitors were and where the auditorium was, where we did our shows, that's actually one big room. They just put up a thing in the middle of it. So that will come down, and that will be where we game there. And then we also have a lot of the small rooms on the other side of it.
Yeah, the antique and the Bon Air and the Curacao rooms. We have all of those, and we've got the Grand Sierra, the big one.
Um, Sharon, how many games do you play a year? Just make up an astronomical number. They'll never know.
I'm guessing I must play 200, 250 games a year.
Let's see here. Moving down. I play about 20 games a year. Uh, do either of you have trophies from your childhood that you're particularly proud of?
I have them here to show, if I may.
Was this a setup? Did you tell
This
them that was
was,
good?
I don't know. I don't know if anyone can see them. This was from Science Fair my freshman year. Um, this was 1982. I'm giving my age away here. 1982, and it was when the space shuttle program was starting to get popular. And so I did a project where my mom grew had violets. And so I had one violet was my control, and then for my experimental, I I got a really old turntable, and we made a cardboard cutout to put the plant in the cutout, and we spun it like for a month just to see what it did. And so with that, I got all the way. I won this at the high school level, but I got all the way to the state level with it. So that's I'm proud of that, because science wasn't my favorite topic in school, believe it or not. But I had this one. I was valedictorian of my graduating class, and so I got this trophy, and that's my tassel.
I can't compete with that. I don't have any. I have a few small trophies, I think, from when I was a kid. I got things like perfect attendance and that sort of nonsense. But the trophy I'm most proud of is not even mine. It's my wife's.
Oh,
Well, she has lots of trophies. She has basketball trophies and volleyball trophies. It's really disgusting. People come in and they glance, and then they don't even like, oh, are those Tom's? They know they're Laura's because they know my skills in sports. But in college, there was a Rook tournament. Now, when I went to college, I didn't play Rook. I never even heard of it. But Rook is a game everyone there played, a trick-taking game. People love it, insane about it. My wife's family, insane. Those people were insane. Also, they play Rook. And so when they had a Rook tournament, you had to get partners. And my brother-in-law, or at the time it was my future brother-in-law, and his partner were so annoying. You know, I sat there and watched people play Rook for a while, and I said, this seems fairly basic. I said, I feel like, unlike other trick-taking games, this one, the cards that you play are pretty obvious each turn, and they told me that I was an idiot and I didn't understand the finer points of the game, which may be true. And possibly because when it came time to pick partners, my fiancée at the time, my wife now, refused me to be her partner because I wasn't good enough at Rook.
that's funny.
Fine. That's fine. I found another partner. And in the tournament, we got to the final four, and I came up against my brother-in-law and this twerp, and we won. We whooped them, and I may have knocked my chair over and yelled. I was so excited. My wife and her partner then proceeded to demolish us. But I told them that I took out their hardest competition, so that's really my trophy downstairs and not hers.
It was a collaborative effort.
Whenever he comes over to visit, I'm like, remember this trophy? What happened? I'm having a hard time remembering the story. I am such a jerk. All right. Who won the last time you and Tom played a game? Oh, that's easy. Sharon wins every time.
Oh. I can't remember the last time we played a game.
I remember one time we played Russian Railroads.
Yeah.
And I played against Sharon and Warren, her husband, and Bob. And it was first, second, third. And then you could put fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh if there had been invisible people playing. And then Tom.
I remember that now.
Russian Railroads is one of those games that if you fall behind, you're probably not going to catch back up in it. But it is what it is. All right, let's see. Who is your favorite game designer currently working on projects? I'd have to
Oh,
sit down and think about that one.
wow, that's yeah. Oh, that's a hard one. I really like, Great Western Trail, Maracaibo. I mean, Alex Pfister, he's done brilliant with those, but there's just so many to try and single out. Oh, that's hard.
Well,
And I'm gonna go
yeah,
with Alex Pfister.
I'm not answering it. You said Alexander Pfister?
Yes.
That's right. Didn't I teach? I taught Warren Maracaibo, and then
Yes, you
I don't
got
think he
at your
stopped
church.
playing it. Then he just kept like every time he walked by a table, he was like back there sitting down trying it out.
We played it. It was Thanksgiving weekend at your church, and then on the
Oh, I taught it to
cruise,
you guys. That's right.
yeah, yeah, and then he was, and I can't remember who I played it with at the moment. It was he and I and someone else, and oh, was it Ernest? I can't remember, but there were three of us playing, I think, and then on the cruise he was teaching it like constantly.
Are you musical? Do you know how to play any instruments?
I do. I started taking piano lessons when I was 6, and I took them all the way through high school. And I went to music competitions and such. I don't play nearly as much as I'd like to. I joined band in 8th grade, and I started it with the clarinet. And then the summer of my sophomore year, we lost a lot of our lower brass to graduation. And so our band director said, if any woodwind instrument wants to learn a brass, let me know. And I thought, why not? So I learned to play marching trombone for marching band and then baritone for concert band.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
You play
So,
trombone now.
well, it's marching trombone, so it's not the slide. It looks like a big, really big trumpet, so it's similar to a trumpet. But if I had to play it now, I don't know. I think I'd have to think about how to pucker right and
Yeah.
and get my face in shape again.
By the way, folks, you can see my hands here. It is Sharon who's tapping, not me.
Oh, I'm
So
tapping.
just like to cleanse myself
So
from that accusation.
we're gonna do the rest of this with our hands up.
Tom, you mentioned that you're working on being a better learner. I have a friend who clearly doesn't enjoy learning from others and it gets in the way of others. Is there a good way to manage it? I don't know, because it's something I have to think about on my own. And I'm fortunate that I have friends, many of them who are very straight talkers, Z Garcia particularly, because I came to Z and I was like, that person was a bad explainer, and that person was a bad game explainer, and that person was, and Z said, what's the common denominator? I was like, oh, shut up.
Yeah.
Um, let's see here. Blah, blah, blah. People are talking about the wheels now. I was wondering why you took the wheels off the shelves at Dice Tower West. Yeah, we took them off because most of them were broken. And we didn't have any wheels to replace them with. So we didn't want to have shelves, some with broken wheels and sitting on blocks and stuff. So we just took them all off. And then we bought bigger, better wheels. They seem pretty good so far. Let's see here. Moving on. People are talking about basements. No, basements. You don't want a basement here in Florida. You do
You have a
not want
basement, you have a swimming.
Yeah, we're at sea level. We can't have basements. I don't know if I've ever seen one here.
No, I have not.
Interesting enough, there's very few attics in Florida too. I don't know that
Well,
I've
it's
seen.
because it's so hot. So hot.
Yeah, the attic just wouldn't be a good place to be, I think. I had a bedroom in the attic for a while, which was fine, but that I lived in Pennsylvania at the time.
Yeah.
Let's see, moving down. People are talking and talking and talking. Talking and talking and talking. Hey, Ken, thanks for the super chat here. He says, great story and a real life worker placement mechanism, juggling transportation and game boxes.
That's true. Is there a board game behind this?
Possibly. Um, let's see. I'm sorry. Now people are just talking to each other for a while. So I got. All right. Here's what's the best thing about living in Florida, and what's the worst thing?
Oh, the best thing are the winters down here. It's they're so mild, and I tend to laugh at the rest of the country who's bundled up in their winter coats, and we're in our shorts and and sandals. The worst thing is hurricane season, and
Well, you're closer
I do,
to it than us, right? Because you get
yeah,
every warning,
yeah.
everything.
Yeah, I do, and I always make a mental note. June 1st is the official start of hurricane season. Although this year things are getting started a little earlier than we'd like, but June 1st, I just always think, like when I go out to the grocery store and I'm shopping, it's like, okay, what do I need to think about possibly being without for at least 5 days? And, I don't like to have to shop that way, but down here, it's just better to be prepared than having to do things last minute when everybody else is, when there's a storm barreling down on you.
Sure,
So
but I always tell people it is amazing. People here know what to do.
they do.
They
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 do.
they are so it's so fascinating to watch. Everyone goes to get that stuff they need, and it really is. You hear bad stories all the time. There's people helping each other put up shutters and stuff. There is a very sense
Oh,
of
yeah.
community. Help your neighbors, be safe. I really like that aspect. For me,
I
the
do
best thing
too.
for me the best thing is the weather all around. I like it even during the summers. I just love it. I come down. The worst thing about Florida, oh, I'm sorry, and that's tie maybe with the culture. I really like the melting pot that South Florida is. I really enjoy that. The worst thing
Too.
is the distance we are from any place. It's always interesting. You hear people like who live in Indianapolis, they just shoot over to Columbus and shoot over here and there. And where we are, it takes 6 hours, maybe only five for Sharon, but it takes a while to get out of Florida, just to get out of Florida.
Yeah.
And then
A
you're
whole
still,
day to get out of Florida.
and then we're still stuck in,
Yeah.
Georgia or Alabama or whatever. And Georgia, well, it depends which way you're going. My daughter
Yeah.
goes to college in Pensacola. It's in the same state, and it takes 12 to 13 hours to get there.
Yeah.
So we just fly out, right? We fly out. So that's the thing, we were talking about, just hey, we should build a little event center here for the Dice Hour and have people come by, and it's like, yeah, that's not going to happen very often. It only happens if people come by Miami.
Yeah.
Alrighty, let's see. Moving on, moving on. Thank you for people. Sharon, do you have a cool gaming nickname like Tomrick? So I use Tomrick as my name for when I play a fantasy character or something. I just call him Tomrick. So what was basically
Um,
what's the name of your World of Warcraft character? Is what they're asking, I think.
oh, okay. Well, I had a priest called Gabrielle. Um,
Boring.
I had I had one of my characters. I took my name and spelled it backwards, so it was Noras, which didn't make any sense.
No, I like that.
And
That's good.
and I had one alt who was basically my banker. I would send her things to put in my bank and things, and I named her Moolah, like money, Moolah.
There, I've changed your name now to your Noras.
Oh,
That looks good.
Noras.
Now that I like that's a legit name. I would never turn my name around. All right. Have you ever gone to a shuttle launch or any of the other rocket
Yes, I
launches?
have actually. I have. My husband, he is an MIT grad, and he went to MIT with a couple of astronauts. And one of them, Pam Melroy, she went up, I think, 3 times, or 3 or 4 times. I can't remember, but we kept coming down, and unfortunately, every time there would be something happening where it would get delayed, and we didn't have enough flexibility at the time that we could stay and hang around until the shuttle went up. But the very last time, I don't know, everything just aligned nicely, and she had arranged for us to meet somewhere, and they bussed us out to the Cape. We had a spot along the causeway, and in fact, I've got some pictures on my Facebook page, and we saw it take off, and it was one of the most amazing, fastest things I've ever seen. Like, you know, when you watch a launch, the TV cameras can follow it for, you know, quite a while. But really, when that thing takes off and it gets going, I mean, in about 30 seconds, that's it. It's out of here. But it was one of the coolest things I've ever gotten to experience.
I'm a little jealous. I would have liked to seen those, but
yeah.
Well, folks, our time is up. 10 o'clock is here, but good news. There will be another one of these tomorrow, so tune back in for Daily Chats tomorrow and Sunday, and I'll be back Monday. Don't miss that one, me and Aldi from Board Game Geek. But that's it for now, folks. Thank you, Sharon, for coming on. We'll be posting more information. Sharon does a lot of it on the Facebook pages, so keep an eye out for that.
Will do. And Tom, a happy anniversary to you and Laura. Congratulations on 21 years.
Yeah, that's good. Good times. I told my kids this morning, I said our relationship is now old enough to drink. And around 5 o'clock, my daughter came up to me and she said, I just got that. It's like, are you kidding me? Child of mine. All righty. Well, until next time, I'm Tom Vassell.
And I'm Sharon Madden. Have a good evening, everybody, and have fun gaming.
We'll see y'all.
Bye.
Oh, it's not letting me play the outro. Oh, no. Well, I'm just going to play a different outro then. I'll play this one.